Okay, let's get a bit destructive. We need to kill things now. So these asteroids that are flying in need to be shot at and blown up. The player needs to die when they're hit by an asteroid, and the bullets also need to disappear, either when they blow up an asteroid themselves or when they've disappeared off the screen. So there's quite a few things to consider, and we'll tackle it. So first of all, we're going to start by destroying the player when they fly into an asteroid. That's the most basic one. And to do that, we're going to need to tag our prefabs. So the asteroid, mine's currently undefined, but yours will probably say untagged. We need to add a tag for it. We need to add a couple of tags really. So with the asteroid prefab, you can just go to add tag, or you can go to edit, project settings, tags and layers, and find the tags section. And we just want to add a couple of tags. So I'm going to add 2 new tags, and I'm going to have an asteroid and a bullet tag. Just make note of the way you've written them, because you're going to need that in code later on. Back to my asteroid prefab, I'm going to tag it as asteroid. And that's enough to destroy the player for now. So with that done, I'm going to load up the player controller, and we're going to do a bit of the collision stuff in here. It does work in a similar way to the 3D. There's just a slight amendment to the function call. So let's make it now. Let's do void, and it's on collision enter is what we would use in 3D, but that name's taken for the 3D version, so we add 2D to the end. On collision enter 2D, and you can select it, command or control apostrophe to jump to it, and I've already got 2 open from a failed attempt at this video. And there we go, we've got on collision enter 2D, and we get a little example of it that you can make use of if you want to. But you can see from that example that it needs collision 2D. So let's sort that. We want a collision 2D object. It's a bit distracting having the internet in the background there. So collision 2D, and let's give it a name. Let's call it collision in lowercase. And then into the body of the function here, we want to know if the other object that we collided with was an asteroid, it's time to destroy the player. So if brackets, and then we use collision, which is the name made up there. It could be anything. It didn't have to be collision. If collision dot game object dot compare tag. So if we compare the tag to asteroid and it's true, that means we want to destroy the player. So just going to finish that if with the brackets. So if the collision's game object tag was asteroid, so if we collided with an asteroid, we want to destroy the spaceship, and we just use the word destroy. Fairly straightforward there, just destroy, and then in brackets is the object we want to destroy. And we want to destroy the full game object that this script is attached to. So we use the reference game object lowercase g to destroy the entire object. All the components attached to it will go. Let's save that up and give it a try. So we should be able to fly into an asteroid and die, basically. There it is. Let's see if I can navigate to it. Bang. And the spaceship disappears. The physics kicked in on the asteroid and sent it reeling. We've got a slight issue where new asteroids are still spawning, so there's a bit of something to safeguard against later. But the collision with the player worked, so we can now die. It's turning into a game. Let's step it up a bit now. We'll do the collision of the bullets with the asteroids. So it's a bit more involved, and eventually we're going to make more asteroids spawn out of the bigger ones. So we'll start by tagging the bullet. So in the prefabs, select your bullet and make sure it's tagged as bullet. Mine already was because I did it earlier. And then let's go to the script of the asteroid this time. So let's find the asteroid controller, and we're going to add a collision here for the asteroid against the bullet. The thing to notice this time, or to bear in mind, is that the bullet itself isn't a physical object. Because we told it to be a trigger when we made it, we selected this is trigger option in its box collider, so it is slightly different code. Instead of being on collision, we want on trigger enter, and we're still in 2D, so it's on trigger enter 2D, and this obviously needs the void at the front because that's the return type. So we've got on trigger enter 2D, select it, again you can control or command apostrophe to jump to it, and you can see that that is the right spelling. You get a little example if you want it. let's make use of the function. So we need brackets, and this now is a reference to the actual collider rather than the collision, because there isn't really a collision, but there is another collider object. So we can do collider 2D, call it other as the example used there, and then we're into the function. And this time, if the other collider's game object was tagged as a bullet, we want to destroy this asteroid. So let's go if brackets other dot game object dot compare tag bullet this time. Close all your brackets, open new curly brackets, and in there let's destroy game object again. The reason I've left another line is because we also need to destroy something else, but just to show that in action, make sure it's saved, go back to Unity and let's shoot something. Just make sure your bullet is tagged properly, make sure your code was saved, and shoot. There we go, you can see the bullet destroyed the asteroid, but then the bullet kept going, which would mean that it would just keep destroying stuff, be on a warpath. And that's possibly a bit too easy. If you like that feature, maybe you've got a railgun or something, keep it. But I'm going to use this extra line to also destroy the other dot game object. So destroying the bullet and destroying the asteroid. And now, if we try that, we have the ability to shoot asteroids and consume that bullet as well. Boom. Good stuff. Okay, so that's the simple bit of the asteroid collision done. We're going to revisit it a little bit later to spawn some additional asteroids if needs be. But for now, let's also get the bullets to delete themselves when they've gone off screen. So I'm going to jump to the bullet class and I'm going to reinstate the update function. So void update, and in here, slightly different approach. There's no collision this time, although you could have little invisible boxes around the edge of the screen if you wanted to, and detect a collision and then remove a bullet. But I'm going to use a different approach. We're just going to ask if the bullet is visible or not by means of accessing its renderer, which we have done in the 3D videos. We used the renderer to change the colour of our blocks and things. So we're going to start fairly similar. It might be worth storing the renderer up here, so we might move it in a little while. But let's make a renderer variable, call it ren, and make it get component renderer. So we've now got a reference to the renderer, and then we want to ask if brackets ren dot is visible. So that will ask if it's visible. Obviously we don't want to delete the bullet when it is visible, so we're going to ask if it's false. So we're going to do 2 equals and put false. And then we're going to delete the object. So destroy game object again. So grabbing a reference to the renderer, if the renderer is visible, destroy this whole game object. Now this isn't the most efficient way of doing it. We're grabbing the renderer again and again every frame. So it might be that you store a reference to it, just as we do with the rigid body every time, where we have the variable up at the top, we grab hold of it in the start function, and then we just reuse it in here. So it could have been a case of chopping that out, grabbing hold of it in here, but actually making the variable up here. So that would be private, I should have kept renderer, private renderer ren, and we don't need that bit. So now it's set up in a similar way to how we do the rigid body, where we're storing it the whole time and then making use of it in the update. Let's just see if it works. So if we click to play, and I'm just going to snap my game view alongside. I didn't mean to do it quite like that, but never mind. So we can see the scene and we can see the game, and it's I'm guessing it's considering my scene view as in view. So they're deleting themselves when they go off. They aren't being deleted because you can see it in the hierarchy. I just assumed it was only in game view, so that's my bad. Yeah, so they're being deleted. Let's try it snapped back. See if they delete faster when we're just in game view. So watch the hierarchy, spawn a bullet, and it's gone. See, it's disappeared as soon as it's gone off the screen. So we know it's been deleted. I just thought I could trick it a bit by watching the scene view. Okay, so far so good. We can delete our bullets, we can delete our asteroids, and we can kill the player.